You're one of the greatest con men of all time. You're the daddy of them all. What does it take to be a good con man?
You know, I have to smile because people always say you're the greatest con man or the greatest confidence man. You know, I was a 16-year-old boy who ran away from home and ended up on the streets of New York City and said, okay, how am I going to survive now? And I first realized that I can't survive as a 16-year-old. I have to have people believe I'm an adult. So, you know, the first thing I did was alter my driver's license to make myself 10 years older. And it started out with me more as survival. How am I going to survive? So I started writing checks, and I found it very easy to go in and cash checks.
$2.5 million worth of checks.
$2.5 million. But everything had a purpose. So, you know, I walked down the street, I saw an airline crew come out of a hotel, and at first I thought to myself, if I could get one of these uniforms, when I walk in a bank, they'll be much more apt to cash my check as this pilot. And then I got the uniform and I walked up to a ticket counter one day and the girl said to me, are you flying or are you paying or riding? And I said, what do you mean? Are you riding the jump seat or are you going to buy the ticket? I said, well, no, I'll ride the jump seat. And then I realized I could fly all over the world for free, and then I could stay in the hotels as a crew member. So everything was just a step up for me. I was more of an opportunist who saw things and then took advantage of them. You know, it goes from survival, then people were chasing you, so then you're starting to say, how do I stay ahead of these people that are chasing me and outsmarting them? Until it gets to where, you know, you just get tired of doing it and tired of running it. And I think in my case, it was more about maturity. I started getting older, and so consequently I started realizing this is not the way I want to live my life. My conscience started to bother me.
You can't have a conscience and be a con man as well,
no,
can you?
You can't have a conscience and be a con man. And you know, you can only change if you want to change. You have to be willing to want to do that. And you can't expect someone else to do it for you. You have to do it, and it's not easy. You got to change your life.
When you're actually doing it, like even to riding the jump seat, you know, things like that, in those instances, in those moments, they're amazingly brazen, audacious acts. I mean, where does somebody find the inner confidence to do that?
And I truly believe, looking back on it now, that I truly believe I was able to accomplish all those things because I was just a teenage boy. I had no really conscience. I had really no fear of being caught. I really didn't care about consequences. I was just a kid. I always believed had I been a little older, say I started doing that at 21 to 26, I wouldn't have done half the things because I would have rationalized and said, you'll never get away with that. No one will believe you're a doctor or you're a pilot, or I would have probably never done it. But because I was a kid, I had this kid's imagination that I can do anything, I can get away with anything, or at least I'm willing to try it, and had no fear of consequences. So in my case, it wasn't that I was brilliant or that I was a genius. I think it was more about the fact that I was very young, and I looked at it through the eyes of a kid than the eyes of an adult.
It was the naivety of youth.
Right, yes.
A good excuse.
Yeah. Even when I was doing the things that I did, I paid back $2 million of that money because I hadn't spent it. And then I eventually paid the other $500,000 back only because I felt it was right to pay all the money back. But as a kid, I couldn't spend $2 million, so it was never really the money. It was more of just going on the adventure and doing it and seeing how much you could get away with. You know, I would just add that when I did all the things I did, one of the things that I realized very quickly later on is that all the people I met that I really never did anything to, in fact, I took them places, I spent money on them, I bought them lots of things, they were the people most upset with me because those people felt deceived. That I thought you were my friend, and yet you weren't who you say you would. You didn't trust me enough to tell me who you really were. So it's kind of like the people who say, you know, the guys got into my house, but they didn't steal anything, but they went through all my belongings. That bothers them more than if they had stolen something. And I had to come and realize that with maturity.